Denver Broncos punished the Dallas Cowboys last week in their first playoff game, but they will have a much tougher test this week as they face Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Von Miller in an away game against the Buffalo Bills.
This is the MHR News Roundup with Mile High Reports, Lori Lattimore-Volkman.
Hey Broncos country, I'm Lori Lattimore-Volkman with the Roundup. I cannot be more excited for this Broncos squad. Yes, I know last week's win over the Cowboys was just a preseason game. I know it was mostly a JV game, but what a dominating performance over them boys.
Josh Allen, nice pocket, end zone, looking for it, and it is caught, touchdown.
We're going to talk about that game, but first we're going to focus on what's coming up next, and that is a much tougher test in the Buffalo Bills. The playoff-bound and Super Bowl contending Buffalo Bills. I've got my number 58 jersey on in honor of Von Miller, who is going to play. And although we should see him in orange and blue, we will still get to see him, and that makes me happy. So let's get to this Bills game. As the Broncos hit the road to play the Buffalo Bills at 11 a.m. Mile High time, here is a fun fact. Denver, which has won 4 of the 5 last preseason meetings against the Bills, has done so by an average of 11.8 points. But the Bills are undefeated in preseason since 2018. So both teams have a little pride to play for, even though it's a preseason game. And we learned Thursday that the Bills do plan to play their starters, and they plan to play them a healthy amount. So that means before the D goes after Case Keenum, the Broncos will contend with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and company. And before our offense gets to score against the backup defense, they will have to face none other than Super Bowl MVP Von Miller. Good luck with that. We also learned that Nathaniel Hackett has no intention of changing his plans of not putting in starters in the preseason. As we've learned, he's not a big fan of preseason, and so they won't be playing.
You know me, I don't like the preseason. I mean, that's just my philosophy, my upbringing, just seeing all the different things that I've seen in the past. There's always that risk reward. And, I think we'd all sit here and say, sure, we want the guys to go out there and do good and get reps and stuff like that. But, in the end, we want to be smart with the guys. It's a 17-game season. How we try to protect the guys and get them ready so that they can come out there and play at the highest level is what we're aiming for. So those practices, we want them to be more efficient, better, faster, just as game-like as possible. And I think that's what we're trying to create. And the more that they do that, the better. Now, if it gets bad or anything like that, then, yeah, we might have to throw them in the games, you guys. But in the situation, I think they've all stepped up to that challenge. And I think they've done a great job.
Saturday's game will definitely be a good test for the Broncos defense, particularly whether that pass rush can get to Josh Allen before he takes off and uses his legs, and whether the secondary can contend with Stephon Diggs and the wide receivers. For a lot of young guys in the secondary, this will be an important matchup, especially cornerbacks like Michael Ojemudia, Damari Mathis, Essang Bassi, and Faion Hicks, along with safeties Hayden Stearns and PJ Locke.
By the Broncos, PJ Locke.
On Thursday, Hackett specifically addressed how Mathis and Hicks have been looking in practice.
I think, it's always that idea to never panic. You never want a guy, whether it's a double move, whether he's down the field, you never want to see him panic and kind of shut it down or anything. You want to see him finish through the play and trust their speed. A lot of the times once you get here and you feel that speed and that different level here, those guys don't realize how they're still just as fast and they're just as good. So I think that their confidence levels are going up. They're starting to understand the system too. And you see they definitely make flashes. I mean, there's been a couple really good plays across the board for both of those guys.
On the offensive side of the ball, Hackett confirmed that Josh Johnson will get the start and Brett Rippon will follow, meaning, of course, there will definitely be no Russ Wilson this week or any week until week 1 against Seattle.
They're pretty good defense right out the gate. I think, for everything, we want to do what's right versus those guys. It's another different defensive front compared to what we see every day, so I think we'll get great work on that, being able to go after a 4-down front. But we're going to try to mix it up as much as we can, whether we're throwing the ball or running the ball, but we just want to see both be efficient.
Now, let's look back at that Cowboys game to see what was good, what was not so good, and what we loved as we look ahead to doing it again against the Bills on Saturday. First, the good. Denver's defense held Dallas to 5 of 14 on third down, 0 for 3 on fourth down, plus no touchdowns until the fourth quarter. Baron Browning was an absolute monster in the pass rush, but we're going to save conversation about him for later. Montrell Washington returned 2 punts in his NFL preseason debut, garnering a total of 45 yards on the 2. That's the second most punt return yards by a Bronco in a preseason game since 2014 by current Buffalo Bills receiver Isaiah McKenzie. Coach Hackett was pretty impressed with Washington's return ability and mentioned that's exactly why he's here.
That's one of the reasons why we drafted him. He's done some great things as a wide receiver, but to see him go back there, catch those things, and get those positive yards. Field position is so critical in this game. So whenever you have somebody that's going to get you, 1 or 2 first downs by himself, I mean, it's huge.
Those guys don't want to get hit, and the emphasis is to score. That's the standard for us is very high. The standard for Montrell is very high. The expectations are high for Montrell. I thought he did a good job, and him avoiding it is his athleticism, his agility, and also his vision. He can feel and see those tacklers coming. So of course he wants to avoid them because our goal is to score at some point this year, hopefully multiple times.
Also in the good category, Josh Johnson completed 16 of 23 passes for 172 yards, 2 touchdowns, and most importantly, no interceptions. Although he started out kind of slow, he gained some rhythm and proved that the game was not too big for him. This is exactly what the coaches wanted to see and what they'll be looking for in his follow-up campaign Saturday against a much tougher team, and as we mentioned, a bunch of starters. The Broncos' offensive line also prevented the Cowboys from recording a single sack, only the 3rd time that has occurred since the 2016 preseason. In the not-so-good category last week, the Broncos' backup running game suffered, and that was partly due to the offensive line. The offense tried 22 times to get that running game going, but only managed a measly 39 yards, which equaled 1.8 yards per carry. Not good enough.
No, I think that the Cowboys went into that game and said, we're going to stop the run. They're going to put everybody in the box and they're going to stop it. And, I wanted to try to force that a little bit and continually work at that. In a different situation, I think I probably would have thrown the ball a little bit more. But, it's again, you're always trying to get that run game going.
It won't get any easier for the offense, and particularly the running backs in Buffalo. And guys like Mike Boone, Stevie Scott, and Jaquan Hardy will need to step up big time on Saturday to improve the showing.
But, the one thing that just kind of stands out is that offensive line. And, we're not really having that run game there, that outside zone. We were running it, but it wasn't as effective. The offensive linemen weren't getting the push that they needed. And a couple guys made some mistakes in there. I think some guys went off to get a linebacker, and they're supposed to stay in line with everyone else. But overall, I thought it was a very good first showing. And obviously, going to be a lot of work still ahead of them.
Finally, though, let's talk about what we loved and what we want to see again. Baron effing Browning.
Defense was already good last season. A better unit and a great defensive stand there. That ball is batted away.
Flashing speed, athleticism, strength, versatility, and Von Miller-like bend, Browning recorded a sack, a pass deflection, a tackle for a loss, and a QB hit. He was everything at outside linebacker he told us he could be, and it was almost as if those coaches at Ohio State had known what they were doing when they put him there. Either way, Coach Hackett liked what he saw.
I think y'all saw it. He was around the quarterback quite a bit. He got a sack, a couple tackles, a pass breakup. His acceleration off the ball, ability to bend on the edge is really good to see. And he came out and played free. I thought it was awesome to see, and we'll evaluate it more. But he's doing a great job.
Now, the last thing we want to highlight from that Cowboys game, how about those wide receivers? It would have felt like an embarrassment of riches had it not been a preseason game. But you play with what you got. And those guys, from Seth Williams to Kendall Hinton to Jalen Virgil to Brandon Johnson, made the most of what they got. which is good because they'll be fighting for just a couple of roster spots at that wide receiver position. Obviously, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler have the top 3 locked up. Kendall Hinton is emerging as a pretty solid 4th or 5th spot. And Montrell Washington is clearly a keeper, as much for his return skills as his receiving skills. Right now, it looks like Brandon Johnson might have a lead in the race, as Coach Hackett talked about what he's been doing so far.
Yeah, for how much we throw at these guys, all these young guys have done an incredible job. Zach Azani's done a great job getting them ready, meeting with them as much as he possibly can, and to see him come out there and make some plays in the game, and even today. I think he had one from Russ today, which was really great, but you just want to see those guys continue to develop and know what to do first. That's what always my concern with a young guy, because there's so much that they're getting, and he's got that down, which is great. And now he just gets to go out there and make plays.
Although that win against the Cowboys was a big one for Nathaniel Hackett, his first appearance at Mile High, he's taking it in stride and not taking it for granted. In fact, he's looking mostly at where he thought the team needed to improve, including his coaching.
And then too many mental errors. Too many mental errors across the board, defense and offense. We can't do that. I mean, those are the things that we control out here as guys understanding. But, you also have to take as a coach into perspective that, whenever you go out there with 11 guys, there's going to be a couple guys that are going to get mental errors. The problem is we put so many guys in there. So you're cycling through in a preseason game that, when you have more people play, and, it wasn't just one guy or one guy got, 10 mental errors. It was just, one guy here and there got a mental error. Usually you get, about one a game potentially at the most. And, that just added up. And I think that we just all have to be on it more, coaching and players.
Well, it will be a huge test against an elite team to not have mental errors when you're playing with backups. But it will be exactly what Coach Hackett wants to have in order to evaluate his players.
I think that's the best. That's the best evaluation you could possibly get. We want to see who can come out there and play versus the best in the league. So I think it's an unbelievable opportunity for those guys to step up and show what they can do.
Before we end this roundup, there are 2 pieces of news that we need to highlight. The first is the travesty that is Randy Gradishar not being named as a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Not only should Gradishar have been a finalist this year and last year, he should have been in the Hall of Fame a decade ago. There is no other way to look at this than either a total snub by the Hall of Fame voters or a complete lack of research, or both. Either way, it's stupid and wrong. Gradishar said last week that getting in or not getting in won't change his life. And that's true. But it does change the lives of fans in Broncos country, because we know what a huge impact number 53 had on the Broncos, the NFL, and linebacker play down the ranks. And we deserve to recognize him and honor him. He was the ringleader of the famed Orange Crush defense, and the fact that neither he nor any other member of that defense is in the Hall of Fame proves the Hall is not actually a Hall of Fame. It is a hall of the most popular East Coast players. In his time leading this iconic Orange Crush defense, Gradishar remains the only linebacker with at least 20 interceptions, 10 fumble recoveries, and 7 Pro Bowls at a time when Pro Bowls meant something, who is not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's a travesty and an egregious error. And until the Hall of Fame puts him in there, it is not a Hall of Fame. So get it right, Hall of Fame, because I am freaking tired of having to have this conversation about one of the greatest players in NFL history. So there. Okay, Broncos country, the last piece of news to highlight is a good one, and that is ESPN analyst Dan Orlovsky believes still that the team to beat in the AFC West is going to be the Broncos. He is picking them to lead the very competitive AFC West, and his reason is that this is the one squad that has the kind of offense can do whatever it takes to win a game. So that if a defense takes away the deep ball, the running game is right there. And he doesn't believe that the Chargers, the Raiders, or the Chiefs have proved they have that ability.
Yeah, I think Russ is obviously a tremendous player. I don't think Russ has ever had the situation offensively that he has in Denver, where elite scheme and play calling. I don't think Russ has ever had those two together. I think they're the one offense in the division that can do whatever is necessary offensively. You know, when a defense is going to come out and say, we are going to force you to run the ball 40 times to beat us, and we're not going to give you any shots over the top and give you the chance to throw the deep ball, I think they're the one team schematically that is willing and capable of calling and doing it that way. I don't think the Chargers have proven that. I know the Chiefs haven't proven that, and the Raiders haven't, and that's one of the reasons why.
Thanks, Orlovsky. We love you. And Broncos Country, I love you. Thanks for watching the Roundup. Go Broncos. The playoff contender, Super Bowl contender playoff. It will be the biggest test, probably. We'll be looking to see if that more from Malik Reed, Nick Bonito, and some of the other backups along the edge, rushing along the out, and some of the other outside linebacker backups. Who are those guys? And Yumi Uzarike. Uzarike?